and welcome to this week's episode of The Blithe and the Blind. I am Joy.
I'm Julie.
And Julie's blind.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the blind one. Hi. Sorry.
Now that we've identified that.
Yeah. Guess who's the blind one?
Also Julie.
Yeah, probably. I said guess like somebody's going to say something.
I did. I'll say something.
Yeah, I was waiting for audience participation, but it's a screen. Right. Tink, 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 tink. Don't tap on the glass.
This week, I know we were going to continue our discussion about creativity, creative outlets, and the like. I know last time. Huh?
I said, etc., etc.,
etc., etc.
Yeah.
Ad infinitum.
Right, because we have lots of them, and it's not just because we have lots of creative outlets, and it's not just because I'm ADHD or ADD. It's because we have varied interests. That's why.
It's true. I know last time though you had mentioned like artistic, like physical mediums, like drawing and sketching,
and journaling. Your things, my crazy journals.
Julie has a problem.
I do. I got a couple inboxes about it, and people were like, "How many do you have?" And I might reveal that later. It's a problem.
She will not reveal it later, but it is a problem.
I may have counted upwards of like 30.
And I'm so surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Yeah, but they're different. They're for different things. Like my bestie used to rag me about it because she's like, "That's you need a 12-step program." But I would need a journal to log my 12-step program.
It would make the problem so much worse.
Kind of way. Like I have notes. Like here's a notebook. I would consider this a journal, and it's got notes in it.
Itty bitty little journal.
Yeah. Anyway. So so we have lots of different interests.
Well, but I mean, really quick, I realized last week I didn't talk about one of my favorite things to draw with. And I don't know how I missed it. I don't know how. I mean,
and you think I have a problem, people?
I have a problem.
She does have a problem. Yeah. What's your favorite thing to draw with? Yeah,
so
Sharpies.
Much.
Look at those Sharpies.
That's my Sharpie container.
Yeah. And God forbid you touch it.
Do not touch my Sharpies.
If you go, you can't sneak to get one because she knows what order they're in.
I can hear it, and I know where certain colors are. I use them. I use them the most.
Like allegedly, if she wasn't
in a certain place.
Yeah.
But I get the same way when somebody rearranges my spice cabinet. I'm looking at you, Dad.
Yeah. But, and if you go in and try to steal a Sharpie, she knows it's missing.
Because it's not where it's supposed to be. Y'all can call me crazy. That's okay. I call myself crazy. I know I'm a lunatic about it, but they're my Sharpies.
Yeah. But I'm that way with my journals too. If you move them out of order, I don't.
If you mess with a single one of her journals, she's going to be like, "Hey, my journals. Where did I go? Why did somebody take my journal? What are you looking for?"
Why were you on my
But I'm the crazy one.
Well, so Sharpie. So like at one point I would like for you to share with our people, because I don't think a lot of people know this. This is one of those little facts you share that people don't know, we have a couple of those that, that game that you play, tell people stuff that they may not know about you. Yeah. So what did your bedroom look like as a kid, like high school, middle school?
High school. I walked up. So I want to clarify, when I started doing this, I did not have that many Sharpies yet. I had like your basic standard Sharpie pack. I just happened to have them because, like what middle school kid doesn't just have Sharpies?
Right.
Who doesn't have them lying around the house?
It's like Post-its. If you don't have it's a brand name like Kleenex, tissue, sticky note, whatever. But yeah.
And by Sharpies, I generally mean permanent markers, but I personally just like Sharpies.
Yeah.
Because I'm bougie. But in middle school and high school, with my little standard pack of, primary color Sharpies or whatever.
Yeah.
Then I started writing book quotes all over my walls. So
yes, she came home one day and she was like, "I love this quote. Can I write it on the wall?" And I was like, "I don't care. It's not my room."
So at one point, all of my walls were painted except for this back one, but that's a different story. Story for another time. But all of my walls were painted like white. It was just a plain white room, and I was like,
it was white, like.
I was like, I need something in here to not make it so sterile. I was like, I don't want to feel like I need to be in a straitjacket right now.
Yeah.
And so I just started writing book quotes, like my favorite book quotes on the walls. And the day I moved out for college, she freaking painted the walls.
Well, I'm not a mausoleum girl. Y'all knew this.
I didn't say you needed it to be a mausoleum.
Yeah.
But it was the day, dear viewer, that I moved into my dorm. She went home after helping me move in and painted the wall.
It took 4 layers of primer paint to get over it. That's mousse. That's not mousse. That's a dono. It sounds like mousse.
Lucy passed a few years ago.
Yeah, sorry. You're going to see somebody pass behind me. It's okay. It is the dog wrangler.
Thanks, Dad.
Whisperer.
Shout out.
Yeah. Guest host of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the things I've always told the kids is I'm not going to keep your room as a thing. We have a lot of children. We have 4. We've had several through our house. But yeah, so I'm like, when you move out, the room changes.
Point of order.
She just didn't realize it was the same day.
Of order. I didn't mind it was same day. I knew the room was going to change. I'm not crazy. I'm not delusional.
How'd you find out about it?
Child. I am not the favorite child. Never have been. Never will.
There's no favorite child.
Do we need to go back to the episode of The Crown? So, I'm not delusional. I knew my room was going to change. I would have known, though, if she didn't send me pictures that she post in the room. She literally took pictures and was like, this is what I did with the rest of my day. I was like, you didn't have to do that to me right now. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Who asked? Who?
I'm like, by the way.
Asked?
Yeah. So I only got a couple layers on that first day, but it took a lot of layers to cover that up because Sharpie is Sharpie.
Thanks,
so the thing that we'll say for our viewers, helpful hint, use a really good primer, like Kilt's primer or Kills primer, depends on how you say it. I don't work for the brand or the company, but it kicks booty on covering up Sharpie. So, but yeah, so her friends would come in, your friends would come over and hang out and whatnot. And they're like, your mom lets you draw on the walls. Can I draw on the walls?
Writing, point of order. It was writing. Well, there was one drawing. There was one drawing.
You had a couple drawings, but
no, there's the one drawing of the daisy. That was it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just me realizing I can't write, and
it was a lot of book quotes, which was fine. I mean, I didn't care. Whatever. Some people put up posters and some people put up other stuff, and so yeah. So it was wall journaling is what I called it. There's our ghost again. Yeah. Thanks for dealing with the dog. But yeah, so it's a way to journal. It's a way to put, ideas, things that you like. Yeah,
it was a safe space. I could write things down and then look around and be like, I like that quote.
And they were all over. Yeah, almost every wall. That wall behind her was a whole different situation.
I did not. There was still a quote on that wall. It was just in the white space. But I did not do any on the ceiling. That's a lie. I did some on the ceiling, but with paper.
Over your bed.
Because I knew that if I wrote on the ceiling, she was going to kill me when she had to paint it. So I did them on paper. But my Sharpie obsession didn't hit until senior year of high school, leading into senior year of high school. That's when I leaned into it because somebody bought me Sharpies at the store, mostly because I was concussed.
Yeah.
To be fair, I like Sharpies in general. I liked them before I got concussed. Like, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy them.
No, they were given to you, and then it's just
packs, and it's like, I would get them if I needed them, or if I'm like, oh, this would look better in Sharpie, kind of thing.
Right. I like a Sharpie.
I didn't just buy I could fit them in a normal desk organizer thing.
Right.
But I got concussed leading into my senior year of high school, and she took me shopping. Slightly as a pre-college shop and slightly as just let's go see what they have at the back to school.
Yeah, I like to just get out anyway.
And they had 3 or 4 packs of Sharpies that were on sale, and it was the pastels and the beach collection and the whatnot.
Metallics, yeah, all that stuff.
According to you, and I say this because I don't quite remember this trip.
Sure.
But according to you, I grabbed certain packs of Sharpies and just held them the entire time we were in the store. We had a cart. We had a cart. I just held them.
Yeah.
And then before we left, you said something along the lines of, well, let's get a container for your Sharpies. And so I ended up with this beautiful beast.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so Sharpies is an outlet.
I love my Sharpies.
And as an FYI, if you're out there listening, if you're a parent listening, if you really don't, I mean, quite honestly, who cares what they do to their walls? I know we spend a lot of time when kids are little telling them not to draw on the walls because that takes down the value and all that other stuff. And you got to cover it and all that. At some point, I was just like, this is just who she is right now. So let's just, why not? Who cares? It's her room. She lives in it. I don't care. It's paint. It's paint. I used to say it's paint and paint's cheap. Paint is not cheap right now. Nothing's cheap right now. But why not? Why not? Right? Some people have dartboards up. We've got a kid that has a dartboard up. So you don't think there's going to be holes on the wall from that? And I got to deal with that?
Or in the floorboard.
Right. So, okay, really? I hit a floorboard one time. That was me.
Oh, no, I was talking about him. He hit one the other day.
But, there's that. So you have a pin box. I have a pin pouch that I talked about that I travel with. And I used to have a smaller one. I still have it. It's just too small. So I have somebody gave me a bag. And my friend Tina Harris gave me this bag. It's supposed to be a bag for jewelry. I just don't do that.
Not often, at least.
I really don't. So it came with like 12 little pouches, and I'm trying to find one of the little pouches. I put them away, but the little pouches hold. Oh, here's one. Came with like little pouches, right? Little zippy, and they clip onto the bottom. But I use the pouches for other things. So this is one of the few things I will travel with. I don't really wear it, but it's a bracelet, like a charm bracelet. Because on some of the cruises you go on, if you're not a cruiser, some of the cruises you go on, they have they all have jewelry stores on them, and they do little giveaway freebie things to get you in. Sometimes it's a little clip-on charm for a charm bracelet, so I'll take those charms and put them on my charm bracelet. Sometimes they have little necklaces that have daily charms that you can fill in, things like that. I like the little freebie things. They're fun. It's just a good thing to do. It's a collector thing. And I don't mean like collector like it's worth anything. It's really not, because I give them out to everybody. But it's a cute little thing. But normally in mine, like I've got packs and mine are buried right now, but I have packs that have Post-its in them. And lots of different Post-it notes.
Or love a good Post-it note.
I do love a Post-it note. Or
I have a journal.
Yeah, or I have one that has stamps in it. That kind of stuff. That it's all zipped up together and I can take it.
By stamps, clarification. Are you specifically referring to stamps because you mail things like postcards, or are you specifically referring to like your rubber stamps?
Oh no, like mailing stamps.
Because you have both.
I do have both. I have ink pads and different stamps that I use, like clear stamps or like journaling stamps sometimes that I use. But no, I mean mailing stamps, because when I travel, one of the things that I have realized, because I travel a lot, rather than bringing crap back and sending crap back to people that it's cool for like a hot second, I send postcards out. So to places I've been, and it's not a flex. It's just like, number one, it's a cheap gift.
Flex.
It's cheap gift, but I will buy cards out and I send one at every port I go to, or every day that I'm gone, which I have grandkids that love them. And I have grandkids that are like, whatever,
And sometimes the postcards get there after she's already home.
Yeah, they get there way after, which is fine. I don't care. I don't care.
Grandkids don't know. They don't care.
They don't care. Although I did get a text from our grandson's mom, my other daughter, that she didn't give permission to be talked about. So I'm not going to give her name. But the grandson apparently was lamenting, and I quote, "I don't get no mail."
He's 7, by the way.
He's 7. I don't get no mail anymore, except from Yaya. That's me, except from Yaya. And she hasn't sent me anything this week.
It had been months since she sent anything, by the way. Clarification. The 7
So I sent him a card.
Time, obviously.
No, everything's yesterday or last week.
But
so I sent him something. So that's a creative outlet for me as well, is postcards and all that stuff. But anyway, so we have a thing for storage containers, also a creative outlet.
Gotta love the Container Store.
And you were working on, yeah, well, that's my happy place. It's a Container Store. So you were working on something that you got as a gift on your desk.
Yeah, I shout out Grace. At this point,
hey Grace.
At this point, she said thanks for your shout out. So shout out again.
Yeah, fan of the show, friend of the show,
friend of the show. She gave me this diamond painting forever ago. I know I still haven't finished it. Do not even start with me.
Yeah.
But she gave me this diamond painting forever ago because she knew I would love it. It's when it's done, it's gonna be like it's the Disney Cinderella castle with like the fireworks shooting off.
Yeah.
There's like a little Mickey Mouse head in the background. And it's really cute.
So the Cinderella castle is Walt Disney World. Each world has its own castle. But yeah.
I think it's the Cinderella castle.
So it's blue. Does it have blue?
It's got the blue tops, yeah.
Cinderella.
So either way, it's a Cinderella castle with the fireworks and everything going off behind it.
Very cute.
It's really cute. I'm really excited to finish it.
My birthday's in April, Grace. Just saying.
But she got me this diamond painting forever ago, and I started on it, and I've been working on it on and off since she gave it to me. Partly because at one point I lost it for a minute because I put it in a different bag than what I originally used, and then I couldn't find it for like a minute.
Sure.
Whoops. But also because I like to do the diamond painting when it's like, okay, well, I need something to focus on, but I don't have the focus to do something like.
Yeah, because the diamond painting, for those who don't know,
for lack of a better term.
For those who have lived under a rock and have never seen any TikToks, they're little bitty, like
I can't focus the camera.
jewels, and they're tiny, and you place them one at a time. So it's kind of like doing a counted cross stitch where you So
you get a little daughter and a pad of wax, and you can try and use that, or you can do it my way and use the tweezers.
Yeah.
It takes so much longer.
They even have the daubers where
the wax pad to work for me. So.
Well, but they have them where you can preload one color.
So they have those, but this one is like.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Not necessarily that.
Yeah, the thing for me on diamond paintings, like I would love to get one, but then I would so hyper obsess over that. That would be one of those ADD.
You wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, and then I got to have all the things and all the. Your dad hates when I do that. I mean,
does he?
Yeah, because then I got to get all the things, right? I have to have all the things. So I try very hard when I get a new thing not to get all the things. So like behind me, over on this side, behind that piece of luggage, I have a Cricut maker, right? And I've got a lot of vinyl, but I don't have the kind of vinyl like in my head that I think I should have. And I don't have all the stuff and accoutrement that I really would obsess over.
But that stuff's expensive.
Right. Whereas diamond painting is that's like getting into embroidery and cross stitch and all that and knitting, and then the next thing you know, you've got $800+ worth of yarn.
When did that ever happen? Please, pray tell.
So speaking of daughters and throwing you under the bus, so
get at it.
I had gotten a call. I would crochet and knit and do all that stuff. And I got
another creative outlet.
Yeah. So I did it for years. Like I learned how to knit and crochet when I was like 7 years old, and off and on for a long time. And,
same.
And I've got tons of stuff on it because I've done it most of my life. So as far as an obsession, I wouldn't consider it an obsession.
No.
But it's more of a hobby, right?
Recurring hobby.
Because I've done it most of my life, as opposed to like if I diamond painted, then I'm going to have like 15 diamond paintings and all the things. To put them. Right. I don't even have wall space to put them. So I got an inbox back in the day on the Facebook from a friend that I went to high school with. And he was like, hey, I saw you were posting all this stuff. you remember this yarn store in, the town we grew up in? And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, wait, that was your mom's shop, right? And he's like, yeah, well, we closed the shop. I have all this yarn and I wanted to offer it to you for pennies on the dollar, which it was. It was like fantastic, very expensive yarn. I mean, high-end yarn, like all the bamboos and all the specials and all the things and the alpacas.
Like the hand dye and all that.
All that stuff. And he was like, just come get it. Throw crap in boxes and give me a price. I don't even care. So I did, and I brought the girls with me, thinking this will be a fun thing. And we walk in, and it was literally like 4 rooms of nothing but yarn. And he hands me a box, and I look at him and I went, throw shit in boxes. Just do it until I tell you to stop.
Pretty much.
And so they're doing it. And at one point, the oldest girl sits down and stops moving. And she says, I think you've lost your ever-loving mind. I'm going to tell on you.
She had a point.
You don't know what you're doing. And I brought my checkbook. So this tells you how long ago it was. I was ready to write a check. And I was like, okay, so what do you think? What's fair? Blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, $700 and whatever dollars. And I'm like, writing the check out. And that older girl, that wonderful child, not what I was thinking, threw me under the bus and narked me out to her father like that. She's like, I'm not taking the heat for you, Mom. Dad's going to kill you.
I was like 9.
This is the divorce. The divorce is happening today. Anyways. Yeah. I was like, y'all are supposed to back me up. You're supposed to be my buds. You're supposed to be. No. No. Narked me out.
I got home and I ate goldfish or chips or something.
But I had yarn for years.
Yeah.
Years. And used almost all of it.
Yeah. That's not to say she didn't buy new yarn within those years to
work on other projects
or finish the project.
Well, that was also during the time I was getting a lot of Doctor Who scarves and stuff and blankets.
That was also the time you ended up having to get a wrist brace because you're old.
I was just going. I had the carpal tunnel because I was just going. Yeah, that's true. I did.
Literally, if she was sitting at all, she was knitting.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, you walked out and you're just like, what the hell are you knitting right now? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That was during the time, I think there was a 4 or 5 year period. I must have made like 10 Doctor Who scarves and like.
You made those blankets for Johnny and I?
Well, I made them for other people too, but I made like 10 Doctor Who scarves, like the long ones, like season 11, 12.
Fourth Doctor.
Yeah. So I made several of those and then the blankets and
if I'm wrong which doctor, things. Somebody will correct me, but I'm 90% sure it's the fourth.
Yeah, well, I have.
I'm talking about, nerds.
I have the pattern because there's a pattern, and if you want the OG pattern, you have to make the pattern, you have to rip it, then you have to repair it, right? Because in certain spots it's ripped and repaired, and those people are crazy. Because I have to make a whole thing, then I got to destroy it and fix it because they want it like the OG one. So,
I just think they're neat.
They are neat. They are neat. So, also a creative outlet, but it can go crazy and I go crazy on it. So we try to rein that crazy in just a little. And if I'm going to overdo, then I'm going to try not to overdo it by about $800.
Well, by overdoing creative outlets as well. One of my biggest and favorite things is I like to make music. And when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, I'm composing and I'm arranging. No, I got friends who do that and like, y'all are great. Love you. Shout out. But no, I just like to find music and play it.
Like, how many instruments do you play?
I'm getting there.
Oh,
I've been in band since I was in 4th grade. I play clarinet. That's my main instrument. So what up, clarinet players? Woodwind section for life.
Yeah. That's why she can hold her breath for so long.
It's true. But I'm also asthmatic, though, so it kind of evens out when the seasons change.
She can not only hold it, she cannot get it at all.
So. Yeah, it's impressive when you're playing with
bronchitis.
All I'm saying is it is impressive when you play with bronchitis.
Yeah, it's either an entire run-on. Yeah, an entire run-on sentence paragraph or no breath at all. Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, clarinet's my main instrument. Right now, I don't have any reeds for it, so I haven't been able to play in a while because reeds expensive. At least good ones are. And but I started picking up other instruments because in middle school, I had a teacher ask me if I could learn how to play the trumpet for jazz band, and I was like, sure, why not?
Right.
And so we talked to my grandparents and found my dad's high school trumpet.
I don't even know why they still had that thing.
Because, woo, she was nasty.
She was nasty, but I don't know why they hung on to it for so long.
For this exact purpose. What kind of question?
I think they forgot. They just forgot they had it.
After we gave it a real good clean and some
she
deep
got a bite
sanitation, a gentle COVID bath, if you will.
She needed a hazmat team, y'all.
Then I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like fun. And like, I'd never played brass before. I didn't know how to do it. And so Dad was like, I'll show you. And he quickly found out he forgot how to hold the embouchure because he hadn't played it since 1984.
Oh, no, it was before that.
Either way.
Yeah.
It
was the 80s.
Many moon cycles since this man had tried.
Yeah.
But he was still able to like kind of show me really quick. And then I would talk to my band director at the time about it. And then I just kind of would mess with it until I found out, oh, this is how you play it and this is the right note. Because as you brass players know, all that matters is the embouchure and the speed of the air.
Yeah.
So, and
the more
honestly, a lot of y'all woodwind players know it too. So thank you, homies.
Yeah.
So that was my second instrument I learned, but then I picked up others because why not? And now I play
How long did it take you to learn the flute?
I didn't learn it like super well.
Oh.
I didn't learn it very well. I didn't.
That's a bold-faced lie.
I got noises out of it, but I didn't learn the flute.
She came home one day and she was the person.
It was a birthday present.
Yeah, so it was a birthday present, I think, from your sister.
Yeah.
But
and her first husband.
Yeah. So the funny part about it is this person, I would say kid, but this person, it's annoyingly gross. As somebody who struggles to learn new things, sometimes, she would come home and if the band director, insert band director, it really doesn't matter, said, we need somebody to do this. We don't have somebody to do this. She would walk in the door with a different instrument. She's like, oh, so-and-so needs me to learn that we need one of this.
Shout out to the school owner instruments.
Yeah. So she would come home with, what was it? You came home with an oboe.
No. A friend just taught me how to play oboe, kind of like how to make noise on it during a marching band practice because we got bored.
Yeah.
But bass clarinet, it's not much different than a normal clarinet. Those of you who know, y'all know. It's not different from a normal clarinet. E-flat clarinet, just different key.
Yeah.
It's annoying, and I love it.
Well, you came home with a lot of things.
And then, sometimes I would come home with friends who play different instruments, and we would just fork around and like try and learn how to play, just because why not?
And we were watching, because we're cerebral and it's who we are. We were watching React videos the other day, and they talked about Legend of Zelda Ocarina. And so, thanks to that game, we one Christmas had 3 ocarina gifts from Santa Claus.
It was a good ocarina year.
3 different people, and I'm betting none of them still have it.
No, I think Jer still has it.
So, because I've
been trying to steal it from him for years.
They were specifically asked for. Cool. The ocarina could not. Awesome. They're like ceramic. It's not like a plastic ocarina. It was whatever. So I had 3 different people learning to play ocarina. So also a creative outlet. But it was funny because it was this morning or last night or whatever when we were discussing creative outlets in our pre-meeting, our production meeting. Yeah. The good part about living with the person you do podcasts with, production meetings are all the time.
Sometimes it's a text at 3 a.m.
Yeah. And it was one of those where she was like, I didn't even mention my musical instruments. And I'm like, I was waiting for it, but
I wasn't. I was focused on my reading because I was
Yeah.
reading a really good book before the last.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. You're super focused on the reading.
Because I like to read.
Yeah, that is I think one of the number one creative outlets.
It's like for a while, music and reading were like right there, man.
Yeah.
Like I spent about the same amount of time doing both.
For
and now,
sure.
I have no time.
So let's talk about one neither one of us have talked about yet. Theater.
Oh.
The theater. Yeah. Because we, as a fam, we are big theater people, right?
Plays, musical theater, anything.
Yeah, and it's not
experimental theater.
Community theater. Yeah. And that fits all kinds of theater and entertainment from straight and no theater straight. So y'all just deal with that.
We're gonna act like she didn't just say that.
Yeah. And I don't mean straight as in that goes as like cisgender. What I mean by straight theater is could you imagine a straight theater? Could you imagine a straight theater? Let's just take that in for a second.
Oh, the heterosexuals.
I don't think that would survive. I really don't. I don't think in the entertainment industry, that's just my personal opinion, y'all. My opinion is all that matters because it's our show and our opinion matters more than yours. It's true.
Pamela, I'm sorry.
Right. But the fact that what I mean when I say it is like drama, melodramatic drama, the
concept of theater as a whole, acting and the setup and the stage and the production.
We're all characters. We're all playing characters, right? It's the RuPaul, we're born naked and the rest is drag. Period.
And Miss Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talents.
We have all of that, but it is true. But theater is a big thing, and also we've all done our time in theater, and I miss theater and community theater. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the patience for it.
I don't have the financial standings for it.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Community theater, anybody can do it, but it takes a lot of time and effort and all that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have friends that are still doing community theater and trying to break through on that. And hey,
wish you great luck, guys.
Yeah. But it's also one of those where I would go as much as I could if that wasn't cost prohibitive. But in a lot of cases it is. It's not as bad as sports and things like that, but it is still a huge cost. And I feel more guilt about not being able to support those people that are trying to be out there and, living the dream, or their dream. But we've done a lot of that in our lives, community theater. Mm-hmm. And that is such a huge creative outlet, not just for, not just for those of us who just like it, but for those of us who, that's our way to be people we wish we could be, kind of in a, more brave, more bold, more whatever.
Those who are actively participating in the production of it.
Yeah, and I've run the gamut on that. I've been on stage and backstage, and
I'm mostly backstage,
designed and all that stuff. And your dad's the same way, where we've been all over in all different capacities, and you guys have been all over.
We have been on Song of Mark and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, you've been on stage a lot, but yeah,
we're behind the stage now. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So,
I love my actor friends, but y'all are a lot sometimes.
It's a lot. So I will say Joy's acting debut, she was 3 on a
very talented
community theater production of a show called The Song of Mark, by Marty Haugen. And she was the youngest in the production, and the oldest person at the time was 93. So it was a large
production.
But it was a large production.
Yeah, huge.
It was what we had. We had like 40 some odd people in this production. Yeah, and Joy had a couple great moments in this production, where the first moment she had was she was being choked by her brother. I thought
it was my sister choking me.
Oh no, it was your sister choking
then
you.
Jared was getting choked by
the brother. Yeah, so they were little weeds, and they were being choked out by the root. And so they looked at her and they said, "Can you pretend to choke?" And she rolls her eyes. And they were like, "Okay, that was really creepy and cool. Do that again."
You're really good.
Yeah, they were like, "That was
We
cool.
like
Do it
to
again." Yeah,
shows
because
here.
her sister barely had her hands around her little throat. Barely. She's like, "Oh, Mom, I promise I wasn't really choking her." I was like, "No, she's dramatic." So yeah. And that was a very cute moment. Everybody giggled and it was great. And then this other moment happened. It just happened. So the guy who was playing Jesus, main character.
God bless.
And he was a great guy, just pretty mellow guy. But he always had candy because he was literally on stage the whole show and almost the whole show and singing, whether he was on or off stage, he was singing all the time. So he had these little hard candies that he would use
and he would give them to the kids if they started getting antsy.
Yeah,
we were on stage for a long time.
A lot. The kids were on stage a lot, and
it was a huge thing.
So at one point during this really slow, cool, poignant song about when you teach the children, right? If you teach them, they will stay, kind of thing. And anyway, it's a very cool song. So her grandmother was holding her on stage, just holding her, little 3-year-old, just holding the girl. And she got antsy and antsy and antsy. So her grandmother just set her down.
Hold on.
It's okay.
Did you catch the glitch?
Yeah, it's all good. Okay. So, her
later.
It's all right. So her grandmother set her down, and it was just this quiet, poignant moment where the song was building. And the guy playing Jesus sees her out of the corner of his eye, and he turns at this moment, says, if you learn to love like the little one, something like that is the line. And he turns to her and she runs to him, and this is during a rehearsal, and she runs to him and he picks her up. And she's just staring at him because she keeps looking for a piece of candy.
I wanted the candy.
She's just like literally, she's just like,
I'm food motivated.
Yeah.
And the man had candy.
So it was so cute because it looked like she was looking at him so lovingly. And in her head, the whole time, she's like, candy.
Give me the candy, man.
Like telepathically, she's like, I'm going to reach in your pocket now. And so he picks her up and all this, and everybody during the dress rehearsal, they're like, oh my God, no, it's so great. Right after it's done. And we were like, we got to get her to do that again during the show. So I'm like, okay, you have to run to Jesus during this. You have to run to Jesus and he'll give you a candy after. And she's like, yeah.
I got candy every performance.
So it was like, how did you get her to do that? I was like, he has candy in his pocket.
And I know it.
It's a bribe, man.
I may have been 3, but I was not stupid.
Yeah, it was like I think it was a peppermint or a butterscotch.
Yeah, it was something stupid. It was
like one of those really loud
wrappers. It was an old person candy.
It was an old person candy.
It was an old if your grandma reaches in a purse and grabs out one of those like strawberry looking things. It was like one of those kinds of candies.
But I think it was a peppermint. Because it had the wrapper on both ends and it made a lot of noise. Yeah. Because he kept going, is the candy too loud in my pocket? And I'm like, we can't hear anything, buddy. So it's fine. Yeah. So, because that was a crazy show. But yeah,
it's like you said, we've been, I mean, our whole family has done theater forever. And I mean, in high school, I did it some in middle school. I was like, helping with the stage crew, whatever. But they don't let you do so much in middle school because apparently power tools are dangerous. And then in high school,
I didn't care in the 80s. They were just like, take this soul and go cut that out. Yeah.
And don't lose a finger. I remember I got pulled into doing, we did Fiddler on the Roof my freshman year.
Yeah.
It was Jared's sophomore year. It was the first time he was doing crew. And I mean, for those of you who know Fiddler, ignore it. It's a massive production. So many people. Yeah. Like, and this was a high school production. So it was basically if you auditioned, you got in.
Right.
You know? So
they needed all the warm bodies.
Yeah. So we did Fiddler, and oh my God, I was gonna just go see it with my family, which I did end up getting to see it. But at one point I had gone to like go to the bathroom or something. I was like during intermission, and one of my friends just goes, "Oh my God, Joy, you're here." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was early high school, so I was dressing in all black because I was like super hardcore. And they were like, "Great, you're already dressed. I need your help backstage."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What do you mean you need my help?" They're like, "We don't have enough people. I'm gonna tell you where to stand." And I was like, "Neat." So I spent the latter half of the show backstage just trying to help facilitate because there weren't enough people on the crew.
Right.
Because
and that's
for some
always
reason they were like, the crew will be fine.
Yeah.
The crew was not fine.
They were not fine. They were stressed.
But then I just signed up to help out with the musical every year after that, because why not? It was fun. I got to help build sets and make things, and I mean, in order, we did Fiddler, then Godspell, because I went to a public school. You got to balance it out, and then Spamalot and Avenue Q, which I'm like, those last two are not what you would fully expect from.
And they were all edited. They were all edited.
Oh yeah, they were all so edited. It was the high school version, like the junior version of it.
Yeah.
Because that way, you know, you don't.
Which means all the really funny lines are gone. But, I mean, it was cute, but it was still, if you know, you know.
It was Fiddler, but it wasn't like Fiddler.
Right. Know? I mean, yeah. So I think I can tell you my first theater experience ever was in, junior high, middle school, whatever you call it now. So no, that's a lie. That was public school stuff, but my first, I grew up Catholic. So there's always pomp and circumstance, and you're singing and doing and choir and things. And, in kindergarten, we did a play, a musicale. And
was it a long one?
It was a musicale in kindergarten at the Catholic school. And I sang a solo of the song, "Would You Like to Swing on a Star?"
Would you like to swing on a star?
Yes, I would. And carry moonbeams home in a jar, or be better off as you are. Yeah, it did. It's a cute little song. It's one I want to teach AJ because it'll annoy his mother. But I got a standing ovation. Yeah. So yeah, nice. But yeah, it was one of those things, and I'm like, oh, I like this. This is validation. Like, I didn't have to really work hard for this. That was great. And then fast forward middle school, junior high, I did choir all the way through and sang all the way through and did all that stuff. But junior high, you create a moment, you have the moment, and the moment is so good. So that is what brought me to theater and kept me in theater for a long time, because it's reliving the high, right? It's reliving that addictive personality that I have. It's like, I need that part. Let me have that. So that's
what brought me and kept me in theater for high school. Part of it was, my parents had stories from when they were in theater and fun stuff that they did, and like leaving your furniture at the school just because it was the set for Bye Bye Birdie.
It was the set my entire senior year. I didn't have bedroom furniture.
But a few reasons. One, I had a really cool teacher in my sophomore year of high school he was the English teacher, but he was also the guy who ran backstage. Greg, I miss you, man. What a G. But he was like, it's just a super chill guy. And like, he would actually like teach you how to build a set safely.
Yeah.
Versus sometimes when they have somebody in there who doesn't know what they're doing. And
people
they're just
can
like,
get hurt.
Yeah, let's try and find a way to put this platform up and make it safe, I guess. I'm like, bro.
Well, and that is a big deal. Yeah. Safety.
Well, so that helped, is that there was a teacher who was actually willing to like show us how to do these things.
Right.
Part of it is because, again, I got a lot of friends in theater. A lot of my friends were show choir kids, whatever. Big shock considering my family. But I was a band kid, I didn't do choir in high school mostly because
it was the same time as band. Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah, that was the reason. But I mean,
show choir chicks are really high maintenance, y'all.
Show choir guys, don't let anybody tell you differently.
Crazy.
Everybody in show choir is a little high maintenance.
It's a lot of high maintenance. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, like I said, I had friends, I had all this stuff, but two things kept me in theater the most. And one was the first one was running Spotlight. Then I get a text from my mom, on opening night, and she's like, "So what's the bulb count?" I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" She goes, "The bulb count. How many bulb people are in the audience? You could see them."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, dang!" And so really quick, I leaned over and I was checking. We had a balcony, so I texted my friend that was up in the sound booth. I'm like, "Hey, how many bulb people are up there?"
Yeah, because you
like,
could see
what? I was like, "How many bulb people are up there?" And he told me. I don't know why he actually did it, but thanks, boo. So every show, then I had to do one, and I would always text it to like mom and dad.
It's a dumb thing, but it's what you do. It's like, what's the bulb count? Yeah.
Part 2. Don't do this. But my best friend, one of my best friends, hey Benji, was always a lead in the musicals. And he always had a point where it was just him and he got a spotlight on him. And 90% of the time, it wasn't my spotlight, it was the other person's because he was on the side of the stage closest to me. But he would inevitably make eye contact with me every time because he knew where I was and it made him look like he was looking off in the distance. Every time he did it during a performance, I flashed him.
Yeah.
Favorite thing to do in the spotlight, because nobody's going to be looking at you. They're like, "Oh, the actor's looking in the distance. Wow." Don't do it. Do not do it. But every single time I flashed him.
There was never a show. I know
to this day that he never once saw me do it, and I call bull.
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, maybe.
But it's fun. It's
him, so maybe not. Yeah, maybe.
Because I wanted to see if I could throw him off. So
yeah. So there was
twice.
Yeah,
it caught him off guard.
There was never a show I did where there was not a flashing of some sort. So.
It's tradition.
Things you do backstage. There are things that happen backstage that y'all would never.
If you're not in theater, you'd be like, "What are you?"
You'd be like, "Why are they doing this?" Like, so I did a show with a friend of mine, and it was supposed to be like a kid production, a youth production, not a kid, but a youth production. So they were all in their 18, 19, 20s, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever. And we did a production of Ragtime. And that show is an intense show. It's one of my favorite musicals, but it is so intense. And it is so,
I was like, "Oh, I know which one you're talking about." Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a heavy show. It's a great show, but it's a heavy show. But after like 25 times, you're like, I need to lighten up just a little bit because other than that, you're crying the whole time. And we had a set that it rotated and then it opened and it closed. So, and for a youth production in a community,
that's pretty solid, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's steep, right? So safety is a concern. So we had somebody or two people behind it. I was one of them because it was a big piece and there were people on it. So it would rotate while people were on it. And then when they were off, it would open and close and be different. It would close to be the house stairs and it would open up to be the ship's. There's a ship in it at one point and there's the ship's hull and then it would go the other. Anyway, it was very intense. So there's this very serious song where the dad's singing and he's saying goodbye and
depressing song.
Yeah, but he's going and doing and he's waving and all that. And at one point he turns his back to the audience to represent he passes away. So he turns his back to the audience and he's looking and then he sort of slowly lowers his head. And as he lowers his head, he's looking right at me. And I was back there for 3 songs.
You got to have fun with it.
So, yeah. So I was like, I'm over this, man. So I have my headset on. I'm talking to the guy at the director, and we're doing our thing and listening to cues and doing that and joking back and forth. And, when you talk, it's a whisper in there when you're on stage.
Because otherwise everybody can hear you.
So I'm barely whispering and doing the normal thing. And in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. And blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I'm like, because I was over it.
With it.
I'm like, I'm so over this song. I'm like, I cannot cry every day and get my job done. Right?
That makes one of us.
Well, depends on the job. But anyway. So
something kind of honestly, and I was thinking about it. Something that's kind of closely tied to theater, and I know you don't exactly care for this one as much. Creative outlet. I like to think, at least, learning new languages.
I love the concept of
I know you do, but you don't like to do it. You don't in practice.
No. The reason I don't like to do it is because I suck at it. I suck at it. I'm so bad at it.
I know why you don't like to do it, but what I'm saying is, like, that's one that I know I like to do. Dad likes to.
I know. You guys, y'all are learning how many different languages at this
like
point?
2.
Wow.
We're both actually focused on like 2 right now. Sometimes I get bored and add a new one.
Yeah. So
just why not?
Try to learn new languages. I'm one of those. I will learn it if I'm there. I'll learn certain phrases while I'm somewhere. Because my brain wants to compartmentalize things. So, you go in the box. And if you come out of the box, then I don't know what to do with that.
You're more of an in-practice type learner.
I am.
Like, you have to be in the environment and, like, be there. And it has to be...
And the important words, right?
Immediately applicable for you to be able to really, like, remember it and keep going,
Yeah, so it's like, thank you,
hello,
thank you, beer, bathroom, police. I know those things in lots of different languages.
Mostly because they're the ones she uses the most. Hospital. Yeah. Hospital's an important one to
know. Water, taxi.
But, like,
hotel.
I like to learn new languages because I think it's fun, and also I'll randomly just slip into another language when I'm like talking. Like if I'm talking to my dog, we're on a walk and he's not listening, I'll say it in another language, and half the time he listens. It's weird. I got a weird dog. But like it's also one of those where, I've come home one day and my dad's sitting at the table and I just start talking to him and he says something in Spanish.
Yeah, they'll start Spanish back and forth.
And then she walks in the room and she just goes, cut it out.
Because I don't know what to... And I tried Spanish so hard and I am terrible. So the professor I had used to say there was no one she couldn't teach the language to. And then she's like, there is one person I've never been able to teach the language to.
She did really well, though. I love her. Oh my gosh.
She's so great and she's so smart, and I feel like her only failure.
Well, I mean, she also speaks like 5 languages, right?
Yeah. She's so smart. It's crazy.
Fantastic lady.
But she's like, you are bad at this. Don't.
Well, but
she did tell everybody in our class if they didn't just speak Spanish to me, they were all going to fail.
I visited that class a couple times and I got the same direction.
Yeah. They were like, if you see her, if I see you speaking, she was like, she was like, if you ever speak anything but Spanish to her, I will fail you. Yeah.
To be fair, like myself and Jer especially, we started going to school, and when we started going to school, they had us in Spanish classes.
Yeah, because you were 2 and 3.
It's easier to pick up another language when you're a kid, because obviously brain plasticity, you can still kind of rewire those networks. We're getting into the fancy stuff now.
I mean, in the reality, and there's lots of studies done on this that reinforce all that. This is a story for a different time on why I know this. Neuroplasticity is just the brain's the wiring can get reworked. Yeah, you just have to rework it. So
right, and I mean, everybody has the ability to do that throughout their lifetime. It just gets harder.
A little.
Oh, I didn't say like increasing. It doesn't get set in stone, but like it does get more difficult because, well, your brain is used to doing one thing and it's going to follow the carved path. That's just how your brain works, right? Yep. But like, I like to learn new languages or even just keep up on an old language because 1, I think it'll come in handy, and 2, why not?
Right,
right. I mean, it sounds stupid, and I know Duolingo already tells you, but literally, like, even 5 minutes a day of just, like, interacting with a different language, and you're going to start picking up more of it.
And it is true. It's all true. And it's
a perseverance thing.
That's the not, it's not a political discussion. This is just the way it is. The only country out there that only speaks one language, like grows up speaking one language, is us. Every other country, they learn 2 to 3 languages, right? Like we have friends in Belgium. Hey, to the Belgians. We're international. But they grow up speaking like 4 languages, and in Scotland they grow up speaking like 4 languages.
It's just because
it's like that everywhere.
If you travel somewhere, you should probably know how to speak their language.
Well, because it's already assumed, which we all know that that's a bad thing, but it's assumptive that you will run into people who don't speak your language, and the only place that we don't assume that is here in the US of the A. Once again, not a political statement. It's just the way it is. But here's a thought.
There's literally been studies done. Yeah.
Let's continue the language discussion next week. What do you think?
Queer folk out there, happy Pride Month. I mean, obviously we're not posting on the first of the month, but we don't post on Thursdays, so get over it.
Wow. Okay, that took a weird turn real quick.
Like I said, I plan on touching on it a little bit more next week. Yeah. But we see you guys. We know that not everybody's able to be out and proud and loud this month. We see you too. There's absolutely no reason for you to feel ashamed of yourself. And whether you know who you are, you don't know who you are ashamed, you aren't ashamed, any spectrum, any side of the spectrum you fall on, that's okay. Because, I mean, we are a safe space for you, and we love you and appreciate you. And we just hope that you are able to find a way to celebrate Pride, how it best fits you and how you live, and in a way that keeps you safe and happy. Because that's really what Pride's all about.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to go more in depth in the next several, probably, just because it's June and now's the time for us to go more in depth. We're not ever going to take on Pride Month as a token anything. So I'm going to say that we're not token people in that way. We are really about, we are a safe space. Everybody's welcome at all times. We judge everyone the same.
Only time I'll kick you out is if you start saying something.
If you're a jerk,
incredibly bigoted, get out.
Yeah. So
if I ever say anything incredibly bigoted, somebody call me out in the comments, because I probably don't know what I said.
Right. So the big thing for us is, all are welcome. We are LGBTQ plus allies and friends and acquaintances and teammates and all the things. There are no sides. It's just love here, and love is love. I don't care what it looks like, feels like, as long as it's it makes you happy, and you're happy. That's really it.
And for those of you out there, whether you want to hear it or not, I do plan on kind of breaking down my gender expression, gender identity, and kind of just generally the reason that I have at least 3 pronouns listed next to my name. I know that it's, it may sound dumb to y'all, but I also know that sometimes it's one of those where just by somebody breaking it down, how they feel, how they express, how they want to convey themselves can help you learn more about who you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I also will probably be talking about some of my favorite LGBTQ like YouTubers, influencers, icons, and some really cool videos that I think, if you're feeling up to it, might help you out too.
Well, and I'm gonna, as a cisgender woman, white woman, look at me. But as a mom, I am gonna talk about. I use the word acceptance loosely because we've accepted our children. The times I don't accept them, like I said, and I say that loosely as well, as don't be a jerk. If you're being a jerk, I'm going to call you out.
She means if I didn't bring her coffee in the morning, then she asked, by the way.
And that is my favorite child.
Myself is the favorite who brought her coffee. Who brought her coffee, who gave her popcorn.
That was the favorite of the day. Yeah. But we joke, and we have joked inappropriately and appropriately and inappropriately again. And I have,
we may use some jokes that might offend people.
And we might, but and we have done it their whole lives, where there have been things that have been tasteful and things that have not been tasteful. But here, as a parent, I will talk a lot about the growth bell curve, right? And we still have a little struggle on that sometimes in parenting, but we'll talk more about that and touch on that as well in the next couple for sure. We'll talk about language. We'll talk about, and which is why I go into I went from language to here, because language is important.
That's the connection I was making too. Oh my God.
So language is important, and you may not speak the same language, but you need to at least be able to understand each other and find a way to translate to each other. So we'll talk more about that and what that looks like in the next couple episodes, because it is important to talk about. It is important to remember that, you're going to see a lot in the June timeframe about inclusion and acceptance and all these other things, but it's true all year long, every damn day.
You'll hear it outside of the June timeframe too.
Yeah. So it's not just a June thing. We just emphasize it in June because, quite frankly,
the month will get the least backlash.
Well, I mean, that stems from Stonewall riots, but it's one of those where if you get offended that people have a month dedicated to them, just keep in mind you have 11 other months that aren't. So get over yourself and let them have it and learn some things. Just learn some things. But we will talk more about that in the next week, in the next podcast or two, because I got a feeling that one's going to be at least two, if not more.
It's going to be two.
If not more so, because it's important that we talk about it. It's a big part of who we are together.
And there's just a lot to unpack.
Well, it is a lot to unpack, but it is a lot of who we are and how we make up our relationship and the rest of what we cover, right, in the podcast to come, because language is important. And if you didn't get that by now, then know it's coming. And it's not just LGBTQ plus, it's in the accessible community, in the divergent community, and in all communities, language is important. So on that note, we're gonna.
We went super happy at the end there.
Yeah,
all light and free.
It's who we be. Yeah,
I'm gonna lighten it up just a little bit and say things the way I do.
Yeah.
Join us next week to see some gay shirt. And
super gay shirt. Yeah.
All the rainbows. Sadly, I won't have the Pride D month. The demon one. I won't have that shirt, at least not yet. Somebody please order it for me, because I want
Pride Demon. We want the Pride Demon shirt. If you know, you know.
My Pride Month
I want the Pride Demon shirt. Yeah,
I want it so bad.
Anyway,
I'll even take the Pride Demon emo shirt. Like, I'm here for that too.
So cool. So cool. Anyway, so
keep it. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. We may have been a little discombobulated, had some weird moments.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can edit out.
Huh?
I'll see what I can edit out.
But in the meantime, keep it classy. No, that doesn't sound right. Keep it queer, and we'll see you here next week.
Wow.
So sorry.
Wow. That's going to be our sign off in June. That's our June sign off. She just made it so, number one. Yeah. She totally did. Say it again, because we're keeping it. We're keeping that as our sign off.
And we'll see you here next week on the Blithe and the Blind.
Bye, guys.